Oh, is this rolling? That's probably embarrassing.
I really
zoom in.
Motion like TikTok brain.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All
right.
done.
So, start with introductions. Who are each one of you?
I'll go.
So, what's your name and where are you from?
I am Aiden. I am from Batavia, Illinois. I play bass.
I'm Sam Gines. I'm from Grand Valley, Missouri.
And you play that.
Oh yeah, guitar. I play the guitar, lead guitar.
I'm Sean. I also play the guitar, and I'm from Chicago.
I'm Matt, and I play the keyboard, and I sing, and I'm from Lockport, Illinois.
I'm Caleb. I play drums, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
And what's the name of your band?
Day Shift! That was unplanned.
And we're clocked in.
So, what has been performing in Normal like?
Pretty fun so far. I mean, personally, me coming from Missouri, I never really did this a lot. So now I'm like, got thrown off a cliff into it. Basically, it was pretty tight.
It's a tight-knit community. It's a good group of a lot of the same people, but also a lot of new faces, both at shows and also producing their own music. It's really nice to see people inspired by their friends.
So, kind of going off of that, how are the Bloomington Normal, Champaign-Urbana, and Peoria scenes like different? How are they similar?
I would say that Champaign probably has like the biggest population-wise scene, but with that, it's like you're not seeing. I'm not gonna say that people don't always go to the shows, but you're not seeing the same people every time, and it's kind of like if you're looking for more of a meet people kind of thing, it's better to go to Champaign because they just always got new people there, and there's like big ass crowds. Like they always cap out every show. I don't think that we have ever played a show where we haven't like had our show cap out, or there's another show same night capping out. So that's a good place to be. But Peoria is a little more like low key, but has a lot of good music there.
I love the Peoria scene personally. It's really cool. I love the Champaign scene. It's always like great energy going there. It's a great visit for us. But it's cool seeing like the same people in all three main cities around Central IL. Like a lot of showgoers in Normal, I'll see in Peoria, and vice versa. And I'm seeing a lot of people from Champaign as of like very recently start coming here, which is like really cool. It's really good for the scene. Even when I go up to Chicago, I see a lot of people that are supporting the bands from here. They travel. It's really cool.
Is there a particular reason that you guys have decided to like stay in Bloomington Normal for the time being and not going to a bigger city, maybe like Chicago or something like that?
We live here.
that's a pain. That's
College,
hard.
we live here, a lot of
We're
stuff.
broke.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a show here sometimes.
Yeah.
The stars have to align, but we make it work.
What music genre do you feel is most prominent in Bloomington Normal? And do you guys feel like you're an outlier?
Most prominent.
I kind of want to play devil's advocate to your question. I don't think there is a dominant genre because Bloomington Normal is so incredibly diverse in the music scene. I don't know how, I don't know when it happened, but it's amazing. I can go to the same venue 3 nights in a row, and the first night is like a goth synthwave night. Next night is like indie rock, which is what I'd say we kind of do, and then after that it's death metal and doom gore core. So, you know what I mean? I don't think there's one dominating genre here. But.
And I think that's what makes the Normal scene really special, is not only there's a lot of people with different kinds of music, but it doesn't matter what kind of music's playing, there's like the same people there, which is really interesting because they're just kind of interested of who is playing, and that makes like this community specifically really special. So it's like, I've never heard that kind of genre music, I'm gonna go see. And it's super interesting.
So, like, are there any specific artists that you guys are influenced by?
We can each say one,
Yeah, we can each say one, yeah. Aiden?
Me specifically, I'll say two, that's good. I really like Cassiopeia, and I think that speaks for a lot of different people in the group.
Hit the drawing board.
But for me, I'm interested in another, I guess they're bigger now, Foxtide, and that's what inspired me a lot. Yeah.
I listened to a lot of Hendrix when I started playing the guitar, so that was a big thing that inspired me. But other stuff like Frank Zappa with like the weird music and like other stuff like Cassiopeia.
Yeah, once again, I'm gonna hop on the Cassiopeia train as a guitar player. I'm really into the whole modern funk sound, and I would also say like Corey Wong is in Wolfpack. That whole modern funk sound is a big play on what I do.
I'm gonna say something really out the box, but
Beatles.
yeah, it is the Beatles. Like a lot of my lyrics, like just straight to the point, like try to do something catchy, and that's captured. Oh, Cassiopeia! Oh my god, change the record. But yeah, a lot of that's influenced in my writing. Stylistically, I don't know, something modern I can connect to is like Steve Lacy. We all like that like indie pop vibe, and that's the genre I'd say Day Shift is, plain and simple, is like indie pop. Caleb?
I'm on that Cassiopeia train now. But I just really love like Akira Jimbo is a drummer, and I just listen to a lot of what he does. But also another inspiration for me is probably Yusuf Days. He is, I believe he's Brazilian, but he is a drummer for jazz, and he's mostly rooted in the fusion stuff. But he puts a lot of Latin into it, and he's just an amazing drummer. And I started watching him about maybe 6-7 years ago, and it's just been kind of something I carried with me.
So what does your process look like when producing new music, and how did you guys develop your sound?
We often don't limit ourselves too much. Like, we have songs that branch out in different genres, which is always fresh, but like a lot of the ideas, I got this guitar riff, like let's bounce it around, and it always morphs and changes, and we all add our like own spin to it, which is like really refreshing with this group. We're not just in one little box.
Mm-hmm. I feel like every time we bring an idea to the table, it starts as one thing and finishes as something completely different. But like Matt said, it's that unique individual addition aspect to it that gives it that sound.
Yeah, we're definitely very rhythmic focused, I would say, a lot of the time. Everyone has their process, and I think that's what makes music really special, is like it comes to a sound at the end. The band really started off with like a lot of people who are interested in rhythm, or like it really started off with almost all percussionists, and then Sam is just like an amazing guitarist. But it really started off all drummers in a band, which is, it sounds like a terrible idea at first, but also we focus a lot on rhythm, and I think that really inspires a lot of our songs.
All right, final parting for the interview. Do you guys have any shout outs that you want to make? Any upcoming releases you want to have people start keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, I got a couple shout outs. I want to thank, there's a lot of venues to thank for letting us play in their garage, basement, and stages throughout like the past 2 years now. I especially want to thank the Tally for having us so many times throughout this last year. Like, we played one of the first shows. That was really cool. And I want to thank Summing Block for having our last 2 shows of this year coming up. Any other shout outs for you guys?
Bombshell Recording Studios.
Yes.
Yeah.
That guy's fun.
Yeah,
He was
that guy was real
Love that
nice.
Shout out David.
Shout out David.
Yeah.
David.
I think just Bloomington Normal Scene, like, we started at a weird, like, the comeback after COVID. We weren't all here for it, but what we've heard was the scene before COVID was decent, and it was different, but still kind of popping. And then after COVID, it was kind of like we were looking around, and there was people doing it, and it started, branching off to different things. So we were right after the small regrowth, and then now it's even bigger than when we started, for sure. I would say it's like definitely twice as big now.
That's huge.
At least. Yeah.
Way more people.
And it definitely wouldn't be anything if people didn't feel interested enough to listen to music.
Yeah. Lastly, I just want to thank like the community, people who come to shows and support the art. This would be nothing without all of you. I want to thank the photographers and the artists that like we've collaborated with, and all the ones that we haven't worked with. Like, they do amazing work as well, and we wouldn't have this artistic scene without them.
I would like to shout out all the band homies that we made over the course of like us not just being a band, but people who would go watch live music. I mean, one of the most notable ones is 4x4 Animal Style. Those guys we've been really tight with for like longer than I've been in the band. So people like that who've like just stuck around for our lowest point and our highest point, and just always were keeping in touch with us, not just about music and doing gigs, but just like being friends in general. It's been real fun meeting a lot of you and building these new bonds. Yeah, it would be really cool to see what we do to continue our friendships, not just as people, but as musicians in the future.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Yay, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan.
All right.
Yeah.
Who are you guys? The name of your band? What instruments do you guys play? And where are you guys from?
Let's go right to left.
All right. We're Kangaroo Court. I'm Shervan. I play bass. We're based out of Chicago.
I'm Cody. I play drums. I'm in the band Kangaroo Court. We're based from Chicago.
I'm Jake. I play guitar and sing in Kangaroo Court, and we are based in Chicago.
There you go.
I'm Bryce. I play guitar, and yeah, I guess I'm in this band Kangaroo Court.
So I know that you guys have played at the Castle before. What has been your past experience performing at the Castle?
Castle shows have been good. We played here our first time with Blacktop Mojo. A lot of motorcyclists rolled up for that one, so that was a pretty interesting crowd. And then played a couple more like DIY, more like student band stuff here, and those were super fun. Cody's girlfriend took a speaker to the dome at our last one, so we ended up going to the Bloomington Hospital all night. She had to get stitched up.
What do you guys hope for tonight? Do you have any expectations going in?
Not frick up the song.
Yeah, it's not mess up the songs. We're playing all new stuff. So
Okay.
Nothing from the album or anything. So we'll see how it goes.
Very, very exciting. How did you guys develop your sound?
Good question. At least from like the start of Kangaroo Court, it kind of started with like different musical backgrounds and stuff. We all kind of came from different places, but I feel like it's always like been centered around the kind of garage punk, like psych rock, a little prog stuff, King Gizzard, OCs, Ty Segall, Post Animal, that kind of stuff. So I feel like we try to just put our own spin on that kind of stuff that we all like. So
Kind of going into that, so I know you guys have a lot of new songs coming out. Are they similar? Are they different from your album, This Is Kangaroo Court, that you released?
what do you guys think?
I think they're a little different. Like, there's characteristics about the songs that I find similar, but I think that like the band is kind of leaning further into the things that made them unique to begin with. So a lot of really weird, complex song structures, like crazy outros, bridges that like just completely flip the dynamics of the song, which are like, those are all characteristics that appeared like on the previous album too, but I think like a lot of the new songs really lean into that. So like most of the new songs are pretty long. They have like a lot of parts, and they're super dynamic, so they can go from kind of more melodic section to like a really thrashy section or like a doomy section or something just immediately. Yeah, I think that it's kind of like a more developed and more intense version maybe of like what has appeared on the album.
So kind of going off of that, and also kind of that you guys are now based out of Chicago. I know you guys were originally a Champaign-Urbana band. So is there a particular reason why you guys like felt the need to like go somewhere else like Chicago?
Let's see. I mean, we all went to school at U of I, so at least like with our old members as well, we got some new members going. But at least the three of us went to school at U of I and all met there and stuff. And it's like a great place for like the impetus of a band like that, just like getting started, going to DIY shows, meeting all these new like-minded people and stuff. But I feel like after you kind of get out of that college age, like once you start getting a little older, there's like less opportunities to go and have a good time and stuff and connect with people. It seems like it is, you know, either a younger crowd at that point or like a older crowd, kind of 30s, towny type stuff. So I feel like once you're in your like lower to mid 20s in Champaign, it's like you gotta go somewhere else. It started to get a little dry and monotonous, so Chicago is the natural next step.
Do you feel that your genres that you like produce do well in Chicago's like setting? Or I guess, what do you feel like the most prominent genre that people are like producing in the city is?
Yeah, we're a bit of an outlier.
Yeah, I've always thought of this band as being a little bit outside of like what I typically see at shows. So like I've been a big fan of Kangaroo Court for years, and just now I've sort of become like an official member, but I've filled in on shows and like seen a lot of shows and kind of just been along for the ride with the guys for a while. And I've always found that Kangaroo Court typically sticks out on like a local bill, because a lot of bands will kind of be fully on like either fully on the punk side of things or fully on like the emotional music side of things. So there's a lot of like indie rock in Chicago and a lot of like emo music. There's also a lot of like just balls to the wall punk rock and hardcore. And I think that like Kangaroo Court kind of, to me, has always like not really felt out of place on a bill with a bunch of indie rock bands, but also not felt out of place on a bill with a bunch of hardcore bands. So it's kind of like in between. And I think that there are a lot of other bands in Chicago that try to kind of like toe that line. But with Kangaroo Court specifically, I think the thing that makes it unique is like the psych rock and the prog rock influences. It's just not something that's like super common within bands in the city, I find.
So, I guess as an extension, how do you feel like the Bloomington Normal, Champaign-Urbana, and Peoria scenes differ or are similar?
Ooh, I think they're definitely like more different than similar, I would say. Chicago is so big that it like often seems a little bit disjointed. Like there's different sects of different bands and stuff, and you know, different groups of friends. It can be like a little cliquey at times, but I felt like in places like Bloomington, Champaign, Peoria, there's not all that many bands in general, so like you're bound to know almost every other person that's like in the scene, quote unquote, there.
Yeah.
So it does feel like very communal, and like I felt like coming out of Champaign for us was nice because people from that community have like a very close connection with us, even though we're in Chicago now. It's like they're rooting for us, they want to see us do well just for the sake of like, oh, that, you know, that band started in the place I live, like that's a cool thing. So where in Chicago, it's, yeah, you get a little bit less of that, I would say. So that's maybe one of the major differences.
And then my last question for you guys is, do you have any upcoming releases, you know, things that you want people to keep an eye out for, anything you kind of want to leave with?
Well, hopefully we're gonna try to get some of these new songs recorded within the next like few months or so. We're shooting for this spring to be, you know, in the studio and stuff, and then over the summer get it mixed and everything. So we'll see. It's always hard to stick to a timeline with shit like that. It's like all of a sudden budget becomes a concern, and you know, the one producer, it's like you don't hear from him for a month. It's like, what the hell happened? But in an ideal world, we're gonna be, getting at least an EP together over this summer to hopefully be released this year.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing to look out for is just like more shows in and around Chicago, around Illinois, hopefully like further out of town as well. That's definitely gonna happen. And it's been like a long process of like kind of getting these new songs together and like working out this new lineup. Like Bryce has recently joined the band and I'm recently joined the band, so a lot of time has spent in the lab like trying to get to this point now, and we're about to play our first show with this lineup now. So I think what we're all looking forward to the most is definitely just like playing these songs and like trying to perfect them on stage, and then eventually taking them into the studio and hopefully releasing them out into the world like very soon.
Awesome.
Big time.
Sweet. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan.
So let's start with introductions. Who are you guys, the name of your band, and where are you guys from?
I'm Morgan.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Bowie.
I'm Trevor.
And we're Heaving from Peoria, Illinois.
So what has been performing in Peoria like?
Amazing.
Yeah.
We've been welcomed with open arms, and it's been absolutely insane every show we play, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, I think we're pretty lucky to have the amount of support that we do.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Not only just our friends and stuff and family, obviously, but like people just in the Peoria scene in general. So yeah.
So how are the Peoria, Bloomington Normal, and Champaign-Urbana scenes different, or how are they similar?
We haven't played Champaign as much as the others, which we want to more, but
I feel like Bloomington and Peoria are synonymous.
They're pretty similar, but I feel like Bloomington is a bit younger of a crowd.
Yeah.
A little more college oriented than, like ISU is more of an impact on the shows there than kind of Bradley is in Peoria.
Yeah.
So a bit like older of a crowd in Peoria, but that's where like all of our friends are. And then I don't know, Bloomington has been going kind of crazy lately.
Yeah, they're a little more wild. I would say.
Yeah.
I know you guys played the Castle in Bloomington a while back, and I remember Trevor's mask broke right before you guys went on stage.
Yeah.
So like, what's the story behind the mask, and when did you start wearing it?
So and all of the shots after ended up looking cooler than my face. So I ended up sticking with it, and then I started with the next one, and then thankfully that one broke before Castle, because then I got to use this one.
You were supposed to debut that one like halfway through the set,
Like
right?
for the encore.
Yeah, that wasn't supposed to.
And then we went on for the first song, and it just snapped, and we had to go on right there. And I was just like, just use the old one. Like, who cares? And you're like, I know. You just threw it on, and then we just like ran out there, and it's like, all right, everyone loved it. Yeah.
So is there a particular reason that you guys have decided to stay in Peoria and not move to a larger city like Chicago?
I mean, we're all kind of like planted here for different reasons, and I think even if we all like had the means or wanted to move, I feel like it's like a really big undertaking, and I also don't know if that's ever really come up or like crossed our minds really. Like, we always talk about like pushing forward and like making it a bigger and bigger thing, and we always kind of see ourselves still like having home base here, just because nowadays, especially, like, you don't have to move to Chicago or LA or something to be able to like record high quality music or like play awesome shows. And then if we're going out on tour, like, we can kind of start a tour from anywhere. It would be better in a big city as far as like being able to play in those densely packed areas, but at the same time, no matter where we're at, we kind of want to space out the shows and like make sure each one can be special. So I don't know. I feel like we all have our reasons for staying, but
we're still very much in our infancy too.
Yeah,
like the band's
I live
not
with my
super
parents.
old. The band's not that old, so like obviously, you know, we have huge dreams and aspirations for what the band will do. But yeah, and like this area is great. Like,
yeah,
it's only a couple-hour drive in any direction to go to like a really cool spot.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Kind of going off what Morgan was saying, what's the scene like in Peoria? Is there a particular music genre that you feel is most prominent?
Emo, I feel like, well, it's going through its phases. It changes.
It changes so fast too. Like, there's a lot of like hardcore bands. There's a lot of like emo stuff. There's a lot of like softer stuff too. But like everything kind of has its space and has its scene, and you'll see like different people at each show, and you'll see like some crossover. But
I feel like every show in Peoria, the bill, none of the bands line up, honestly. I feel like it's always just a mixed match of different genres, which is cool. But
yeah, I wish there were like even more bands. Like if we went to Chicago, there'd be like way more bands to play with. It might be a little easier to find bands that sound like us, but it's also fun playing with people from other genres. You get to kind of bring out people from each corner of the scene, which is fun.
Yeah, for sure. Then kind of going to the last set of questions, how did you guys develop your sound, and like what artists are you influenced by?
We kind of started with a much different set of influences than we have now, and that like we're leaning into like in the future. Morgan and I talked about starting like a heavier band compared to what's going on in the scene, and for us that meant kind of like a heavy shoegaze thing, which is like not as heavy as what we ended up being. We kind of started with like Deftones, Super Heaven, but then we started messing around with like breakdowns and stuff, and it just became kind of obvious to us that that's the direction we wanted to head in. Then our influences kind of changed. We still kind of have like the Deftones influence, I guess, but I think that's more just because all of us listened to Deftones when we were younger, and we're not like consciously being like, oh, what would Deftones do or whatever. It's like now it's kind of more niche artists, like Loathe, and which is still like very much in the Deftones realm. So, but yeah, we're kind of at this moment we're kind of finding where we want to go with things. We don't want to be like planted too much in the same vibe. So I think we're still working on finding what we all agree on for the future. But
And then, how did you guys come up with that sort of like green, like grungy branding that you guys have been, I don't know, pushing for the last, I don't know, since you put out your ELO before that?
We had a mock-up of the EP album art, and was it black and white, or did it, like, what was it originally?
yeah, I asked, our buddy Max is the drummer for Grief Eater. He had that image and I thought it was awesome, and I remember asking him to throw like a green tint on it.
And it ended up just working, and we kind of from there subscribed to green for a little bit.
And it worked with the whole Xbox thing too for the CDs.
Yeah. And then we, like a lot of bands are leaning into like red, obviously, for heavy music, and then a lot of them are doing blue, and it's like, I didn't really see as many bands doing green, so it felt like our own kind of area to explore, and it was kind of cool with like night vision, security camera vibe, like all of that kind of aesthetic kind of all meshed together. We haven't been doing it as much lately, but maybe we need to bring it back.
And then final question that I have for you guys is, do you have any like upcoming releases that you want people to keep an eye out for, any shows?
We've got some stuff.
Yeah.
That we
got some tricks up our sleeve. We're definitely working on new music. We've been kind of slowly chipping away at some stuff, and so don't exactly know when we're planning on finalizing anything or even when we'll be releasing stuff, but I'd say safe to say this year probably.
It could or couldn't be sooner than you think.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.